हेलो।
Charles, what the hell happened down there?
What exactly are you asking about?
Who killed the government commission? How did I survive?
Sorry, I cannot help but...
What was that monster made of red polymer?
That was a neuropolymer data storage.
A data storage. What does it store, dead bodies? The boss said it was a tribute to the departed. What's that got to do with data?
You will have to ask Dr. Sechenov himself. For my part, all I can say is that Professor Zaharov died the exact same way.
This is fucking nuts. I really thought the polymer was harmless. Fair enough.
Find Petrov and return to Chelome as soon as possible. This will be the best outcome for everyone.
Charles, why did that monster, you know, the red polymer thing, the data storage, why did it look like a person?
Dr. Sechenov's idea. He wanted it to move independently.
Why would a data storage need to walk around? So it could run off someplace and get lost along with all its important information?
It won't run off. It's as loyal to Dr. Sechenov as the ballerina twins. When Dr. Sechenov releases it into the outside world, it always remains near him as an additional security measure.
Security? So it can attack people?
What do you think, Comrade Major? Why would a neuropolymer substance capable of dissolving a human being in mere seconds need to be able to move independently?
Crispy critters. Yeah, makes you think. So, Charles, when Dr. Sechenov sends his twins somewhere on an assignment with, say, Stockhausen, he's guarded by that red monster?
Makes sense. Comrade Stockhausen is incapable of independently reaching his destination within a facility swarming with hostile robots, and Sechenov would never remain unguarded.
You think there are people in the Kremlin who are jealous of him and want to get rid of him?
It's more likely that they just want power over Collective. If you rule the world, it's hardly surprising if people want to take your throne. Very powerful people.
I'd rather have Dr. Sechenov be the General Secretary of Collective than anybody else.
I hope you're right.
Charles, how could that prick Petrov send intel to the west? The facility's under lockdown.
As you have no doubt already observed, there is one communication channel connected to the outside world that is not subject to the emergency protocol.
The secret government line.
Quite right. That channel is used by Dr. Sechenov to contact the Kremlin. No one else has access to it.
Yeah, No one except Granny Xena. So, what's Petrov trying to pull?
I believe he is trying to dupe the central hub by passing himself off as Dr. Sechenov.
That son of a bitch.
Been a long time coming, and back in May of 2018. It has been a long time coming, and now that it's upon us, I feel like there's some stuff that we've found that we can share that's gonna make your life easier. Hi folks, it's Falcon. Starting off at number 10, how to actually use the whole cartridge system thing. One major gameplay element to Atomic Heart are these cartridges that you can attach to weapons and give them additional elemental properties. Depending on an enemy's weakness, these things can be super helpful, especially against the tougher robots out there. There's fire, electric, ice, and you can craft them at your convenience, and they're temporary. They eventually get used up, but they're still extremely useful in certain circumstances. Now, you'd think slotting in one of these things would be super easy, but it's not. At least it's not totally obvious what you're supposed to do. It took me a little bit too long to figure out how to actually use the cartridges, so I'm going to explain it, and may it put you on your merry way. At least as merry as it can be. To start, the only way to add a cartridge to a gun or weapon is to get the cartridge gun upgrade for it. Once you get that, it's usually pretty cheap for the first upgrade. Then you put on any cartridge you have in your inventory. Now switch the weapon you want to put the cartridge on, open up the radial menu. From there you have to expand the bottom part of the menu and select the cartridge, then you close the menu. Now you'll actually equip it. Sounds simple describing it, but it's not intuitive. Believe me, it took me a lot of time to figure this one out. To gang up on you. Even if you do destroy all the enemies' attacks, do finally get to the surface in Atomic Heart, you will find that it is incredibly hostile. There's cameras everywhere, there's robots all over the place, and they're all happy to gang up on you. Even if you do destroy all the enemies attacking you, a swarm of drones will just come over and bring everything you just took out back to life. It can be overwhelming at first, especially when you get caught by all the cameras and get stuck in an endless combat with enemy reinforcements. Here's the thing. Alarms don't have to be as bad as they seem. All you have to do is run away. If you book it out of there, the robots will give up, the alarm level will drop, and you'll be free to explore the area again. They have a pretty small chase radius, so they're not going to follow you too far if you're not actively engaging them, so it's honestly not that hard to lose them. Like, just pick a direction and run until the alarm deactivates. Overall, it's best if you can just try to avoid alarms as much as possible. Like, keep in mind, the only way to trigger an alarm is to get caught by a camera, so you can be as noisy as you want as long as there are no cameras nearby, which in turn will look at you if they hear gunshots. Don't bother destroying cameras, though, at least in the open world. It'll trigger an alarm, probably. Instead, always try to just disable them with shock. In most cases, it'll leave them disabled longer than if you try breaking them, because those repair drones can be pretty fast, especially with cameras. At number 8, you can disable all of the robots in an area. This option becomes available a little later in the game, though, but it's incredibly powerful, and the game only gives you a tutorial about it after you do it for the first time, which, yeah. The whole thing's kind of convoluted, so just try to follow along. Every area of this map has this thing called a hawk drone over it. It's responsible for commanding all the robots in the area. At first, that sounds like it's just some weird lore, but actually it's completely essential because you can sabotage it and turn off all the robots in a large area for a while. How it works is you have to gain access to these little relay stations that are always found somewhere on the map near a hawk drone. To get into these things, you have to find a nearby camera relay, unlock the door using the camera system. That's something the game does explain at least, so while it can be convoluted, it's not terribly hard. Once you get into the hawk relay, you just select the option called Relay Overload, which blows up the turbine powering the hawk and makes it so all the robot activity in the area just stops. Like, it all just stops. Every camera, robot, it's done for a while. So you can freely explore without having to worry for a while. It's not permanent. Repair drones eventually fix the turbine and everything will come back online again then. But it takes a while, so you can breathe easy for at least a few minutes. At number 7, make sure you break down stuff you're not using. At a certain point in the game, you're going to start getting more stuff than you can possibly carry. And when that happens, it's time to clean house and disassemble stuff that you're not using, so those recycled resources can be spent on things you actually need. I eventually stopped using the MP pistol, but the game still wants to give you ammo for it, so instead of just letting it accumulate it, I started disassembling it, and then you get a bunch of metal resources you can spend on crafting other ammo. To disassemble stuff, all you do, just go to the crafting menu, go to storage, scroll over to the sub-menu to get disassembly. One thing you keep in mind is that you can only disassemble stuff that you have in storage, so be sure to move all the unwanted stuff out of your inventory so you can actually break it down for parts.